Now, the last thing we want to consider under Aristotle is the theory of state. You will be hearing this even from politicians, that a man is by nature a political animal. Yes, Aristotle actually made that statement. By this, it means man by his nature is intended to live in a political society, and not necessarily that he is a politician by nature. Aristotle did not say that everyone is a politician. He actually meant by that statement that by nature, man is intended to live in a political society. A political society refers to the state, like Nigeria, where we live presently. Aristotle said that no man can actually live outside the state by that statement. Political society is the place where man can realize his potentials and ultimately attain the goal of good of life, which is happiness. The state, the political society, is conceived by Aristotle to be a place that you can realize, that can help you to realize your potential, the talent that are embedded in you, and then helps you to attain moral, virtuous life. Because as Aristotle, don't forget, associated happiness with virtuous living, with moral living. A person who does not live right can never be happy. That is the concept of virtue by Aristotle. Now, political society is to enable the individual attain this moral living. In other words, is to enable the individual to be happy. So the goal of the political society is to make people happy. When we say the goal of political society is to make people happy, it does not mean that to make them what we call flexing. That is, be in a state of ecstasy. Happiness and ecstasy are two different things, as we have said already. Now, political society, the state, therefore, is instituted by men for this purpose. Aristotle said that, namely, to realize their potentials and actualize their needs. That means the political society was not instituted by God, according to Aristotle, was not instituted by some other being. It was human being. It was the human beings who came together to institute the state. The state evolved as a family, established according to the law of nature to provide for man's daily needs. Now we are looking at the evolution of the state. For Aristotle, the state evolved first as a family and was established. The family was established according to the laws of nature, mainly to provide for man's daily needs. The family later evolved into a village, whereby the different households form an association to satisfy the needs that the individual families could not provide for. Finally, the state emerged as an amalgamation of several villages to serve the need which the individual villages could not provide for. So this is the stages of evolution of the state. An important aspect of the state is citizenship. But before we go into that, when we look at the evolution of the state that Aristotle has thought about, can we say that Nigeria actually evolved in that manner? The case of Nigeria will be quite different, because in 1914, it is said in 1914 that Nigeria was brought together, or the different aspects that constitute Nigeria today were brought together to form the state called Nigeria. So the Nigerian state did not follow the evolution of the Aristotelian stage or evolution of state. And then Aristotle has said that if a state evolves through this manner, so the state will be stable. And maybe that is why Nigerian state is not quite stable, because first it did not, the family foundation of the state perhaps was not there. And then the coming together of the villages was not voluntary, because it was as if Lord Lugard forcefully brought different regions together and said you must coexist. And that's why we're having different aspects of Nigeria seeking to tear and then seek independence here and there. But if the Nigerian state had followed the evolution of the historical evolution of state, first from family, then association of different regions, and then we have the state called Nigeria, we will have a more stable form of state. An important aspect of this state for Aristotle is citizenship. A citizen is one who enjoys the right to participate directly and personally in the governance of the state. They attain this status naturally based on the class they belong in society. Because Aristotle says that the way nature has organized things, it has made that some persons must be slaves, some free, and that nature has already placed people in different positions in society so that they must necessarily belong to where they are. And therefore, the slaves system for Aristotle was created by nature and not by man. So that is why he said that different persons have been placed differently, and therefore a citizen is one who enjoys direct participation in governance of the state, and that this status that this person who is identified as a citizen attain is natural because it was placed there by nature. The concept of citizenship and Aristotle exclude the slaves, exclude women, manual workers are excluded from citizenship. Don't forget Aristotle was a student of Plato, who has conceptualized the philosophical state, that is the state that was to be ruled by the philosopher king. And such a state must be ruled by somebody who has been trained mentally. The state was not to be governed by anybody who does manual work. Those who were doing manual work were to work, do other things to support the state, but not to govern the state. So Aristotle has taken certain aspect of Plato's idea and then integrated it there. Aristotle further identified three forms of good and bad government. One, let's look at good governance that Aristotle identified. One, identified monarchy, which is ruled by a king who surpasses all citizens in virtue and wisdom. And then the next good government is aristocracy, which is a government ruled by a few men of virtue. And then we had polity, ruled by middle class persons who are moderately rich and of good behavior. When you look at these three, the best for Aristotle is a monarchy, followed by aristocracy, and then followed by polity. And then Aristotle also identified three types of bad government. First, tyranny, which is the worst of worst, ruled by a tyrannical king who lacks wisdom. And then we also have oligarchy, that is government by the unscrupulous rich people who have no regard whatsoever for the poor. And then we have democracy, which Aristotle identified as government by the mob. When Aristotle referred to the mob, it means that anybody, maybe anybody in the street, can become the leader of the state. That is the structure of democracy, because democracy is the government of the people, for the people, by the people. And the people in this sense means everyone. Anyone can be a ruler of the state. Let us stop here today, and then if you have questions, you ask it later. But I want to encourage you to find a way and get the books in order to have access to some of the ideas associated with some of the things we are given here skeletally, and to also help you to prepare well for the examination. Thank you very much.